Hi guys, this is gsnmount.com and I'm here with the Sony Xperia E4. It's a lower end Xperia handset that was launched in the spring of the year 2015, and right now it's priced at $153, at least in the UK. Okay, so this is a new review format, and since this is a lower end device, we're going to go through its specs and design features really fast. So the Sony Xperia E4 measures 10.5 millimeters in thickness and it weighs 144 grams. It debuted this spring, so it's a fresh device, and at $153 it's certainly a lower end offering. The back feels like it's made of a cheaper plastic, while the front is a fingerprint magnet. This is quite a wide and massive phone, especially for a 5-incher. However, the one-hand usage is pretty much okay. As you can see, you can reach all the areas of the screen without having too many problems, so at least that's good. And I have to mention that in spite of the fact it doesn't feature a glossy case, the handset is pretty slippery. You can remove the case, the back part of the case, by starting from the lower right area. It feels a bit like a wraparound case of a cheaper Nokia Lumia phone. As you can see, the battery is not removable, and here we have the microSD card slot and microSIM card slot on the side, microSIM and microSD right here. So let's put this back. In case you're wondering, this cheap phone has the notification LED right here at the front next to the front camera, and at the back you can find the speaker, the main camera and the flash, while at the front is the front camera, and on this side the micro USB port, while on this side the trademark on off button and volume buttons right here. Other than that, I have to say that we get a pretty rounded design. The phone is pretty slippery and you can easily get dirt or dust in this area here and in this earpiece area right here. This is not a waterproof phone and the design may not be sexy, but it's utilitarian. As far as the hardware goes, we get here a quad-core processor. It's a Cortex A7 MediaTek MT6582 clocked at 1.3 GHz. We also get a GPU, that's the Mali 400 MP2, and there is 1 GB of RAM on board, as well as 8 GB of storage and the microSD card slot. Okay, now if you wanted to know about the benchmarks, we obviously have those for you. And we start off with Quadrant. In Quadrant we scored 8,445 points, which may not be an impressive score unless you start comparing it to other models like we have here. You can see we got a table here of the models we surpassed. We're actually quite close to the Carbon Titanium S6, a phone that's pretty popular in India. We also beat the Ligu Lead 1 that we tested recently and some Allview phones, so I'd say we're doing decently. We also did a GFX test and we achieved 530.9 points in the T-Rex test, and if you want some comparison, we also have comparison here. And the comparison shows us that we beat the Carbon Titanium S6 again, the Ligu Lead 1, the Philips W8510, and we're pretty close to the Galaxy A5 for some reason. And then we did a Basemark X test, 4,944 points. Let's see what models we beat here. As you can see, we beat the Ligu Lead 1 again, some Allview phones, and surprisingly we even beat the Samsung Galaxy A5, which is a pleasant surprise for Sony fans. Finally, there is BrowserMark, in which we scored 982 points, and a comparison follows obviously. In BrowserMark, well, we beat a few Allview models, the Carbon Sparkle V, and we were reasonably close even to the HTC One that scored only about 80 points more than us in BrowserMark. Overall, I'd say that this model manages to handle its benchmarks pretty well with its quad-core Cortex A7 processor. It doesn't suffer from lag, so you can easily scroll around the interface. There's no lag per se, as you can see here. However, when you start opening an app that hasn't been opened before, there is that little bit of extra milliseconds that some people may call lag. The processor was made in 2013, it's a bit old, it's a lower end GPU, but we've seen it on a ton of devices. The device you see here is able to run the game Riptide GP2 pretty okay, and a few other 3D titles as well. Now, as far as the battery goes, we have a lithium-ion unit here with a capacity of 2300 mAh. On paper it gives you 48 hours of music, but in our test that involves HD video playback with Wi-Fi on and brightness of 50%, we achieved a pretty good 7 hours and 18 minutes of playback. So 7 hours and 18 minutes of continuous HD video playback. and this has been compared to other models. As you can see, we managed to beat some heavy hitters, HTC Desire 820, Amazon Fire Phone, even the HTC One M9, so the playback time is pretty much okay. We also did the test of continuous usage, the PC Mark test, in which we scored 5 hours and 52 minutes, once again a good result. We beat the OnePlus One, LG G Flex 2, HTC One M9, so I'd say the battery is quite good on this model, maybe even close to being a selling point. However, the charging is pretty much appalling, almost 4 hours, or better said 3 hours and 46 minutes, which is above a few lower end units, Olju and Philips, but certainly below heavy hitters like iPhone 6 Plus or Desire 120, so almost 4 hours of charging, that's a no-no. Overall, I call the battery pretty good as far as the playback goes and continuous usage. And if you go to the settings area, and if you're accustomed to a Sony Xperia device, you'll find the usual options related to power management. We got a stamina mode that extends battery life, deactivates some connectivity, and the ultra stamina modes that only lets some parts of the feature activate on the device, some extra modes related to Wi-Fi and low battery. Okay, this is it in the battery area. It's time to test the audio. We got a trademark Walkman player here with its usual interface based on a menu on the left side and on big tiles at the center, plus the obvious settings here. We got the usual clear audio plus. We got these custom channels here. We got surround sound, clear stereo, clear phase, X loud. And actually, if you deactivate these two, you'll see that the sound becomes pretty poor, so it's better to keep them activated. Let's actually listen to a tune. So you just saw how much the X Loud option and the other one matter here. I have to say that the volume is reasonable for a low-end phone, and the sound is a bit muffled. There is no bass to speak of here, and if you put the device on a flat surface, the muffling gets really bad. So the speaker loses a serious number of decibels. What I liked about the speaker is that it gives out high notes in a pretty okay way. Obviously, the Walkman player is always a plus. It has a nifty visualizer you can play with, as far as I know, and it should be here somewhere. Media server, Walkman, tunes, and that's what I was talking about. This is the visualizer, everybody loves it, and one of the pluses of the Walkman player. Anyway, I have to say that the equalizer offers 5 channels. You get surround in the headphones, X Loud and clear phase, and without them it's pretty bad. We also did a test with a decibel meter, worry not, and let's see what happened here. So this is the decibel meter. At the back of the phone, 80.9 decibels, while at the front, because of the muffling, things get a bit bad, 76.2 decibels. So overall, I'd say that we were pretty close to the Huawei Honor 6 that achieves 81 decibels and the LG G Flex 2 that achieves 82 decibels. So pretty much okay, but no bass, and that muffling problem take down the experience a bit. We also appreciated the fact that we have quite a few options in the audio area. Now, as far as the display is concerned, this one is an IPS LCD with a resolution of 960 over 540 pixels. It's reflective, it doesn't handle sunlight very well, and it has a plastic screen coating that may bother you, especially in sunlight. As I said, we got RGB striped pixels, and the actual experience is shown here. We got a sample to show you. And this is it. We got pretty much okay colors, wide viewing angles, not very wide because of that plastic thing applied on the screen. It's not a very bright display, I give you that much. And once again, RGB striped pixels. At least the colors are okay, they're not oversaturated, they're more on the realistic side. and contrast isn't very good here. We also did a test using the lux meter, and the result wasn't very good. We achieved 217 lux units, which is very low. Usually all the phones and tablets I've played with over the past year or 2 years go beyond 300 lux units, so not good at all. There are special options for the screen. Here in the display area you can play with the white balance, you can adjust it, the RGB settings here, screen rotation, sleep, smart backlight control, which basically involves looking at the screen to keep it activated, and notification light settings, and that's about it. I have to say that overall this screen is a bit of a letdown. It's a mediocre display even for a lower end device. Now as far as the camera is concerned, we get a 5 megapixel shooter at the back with LED flash and autofocus, while at the front there is a 2 megapixel shooter for selfies. If you've seen a Sony Xperia device before, you know what to expect: a ton of options to play with and a ton of modes. This is the basic mode, the auto mode. We got manual, sound, photo, augmented reality features. You can stream live on YouTube, play with creative effects, timeshift bursts, sweep panorama is also here, and in the manual mode you can play with even more options like scenes, a lot of scenes, white balance, flash, obviously, resolution, HDR, ISO. So for a low-end phone we're pretty well set up. The most disappointing thing about this camera is the zoom. That's not fluid at all, it's even laggy, it doesn't respond well to the touch. Okay, enough about the interface, nobody wants to see that detailed, and it's time to look at the pictures. We have selected a series of pictures for you, the best we took here. We took around 50 or 60 items and we selected 6 of them to show you. Or better said, 5 of them to show you. Okay, so picture number 1 is a panorama that you can see right here, and I have to say it's not very wide, but the colors are pretty much okay. The panorama is a bit curved, it was taken pretty fast, and the advantage here is that it has no artifacts. Then we go to a graffiti shot. This graffiti shot was surprisingly good. It has good texture, good color, it's pretty crisp and bright. The picture came out with good exposure and was taken during daytime. I like both its color, the crispness, the texture, and the fact that it managed to be produced by a 5 megapixel shooter on a lower end phone. And then we get to probably the best shot taken with the Sony Xperia E4, a macro shot of a flower. We achieved good detail here, good clarity. It took us a lot of patience to focus. We did a number of attempts trying to create macros. Well, this one came out the best. You can clearly see all the petals and all the parts of the flower. We got good colors, blurred background to highlight the foreground, so good macro. Finally, the last or one of the last picture is this one here. It's basically a shot of a fountain sprinkling water around. This means we get a pretty good shutter speed. We're catching moving items here. We got good water texture, okay clarity, good brightness, and we did try something similar with another moving object later on, a moving earth globe, and the shot wasn't as impressive as this one of the water. So good shutter speed here, brightness and clarity. Finally, the fifth picture is one landscape shot here with okay clarity, good colors and details. It's a bit on the dark side, the sun was in the cloud, but I like the exposure of it and the crispness of the letters. We get some trees in there, get some metal, it's a metal stage actually, and in spite of the shadow, the details were decent for a 5 megapixel shooter. These are the shots I would call most representative for the camera. We obviously took more, you have a full gallery to look at when the full text review will be published. I have to say that overall, looking at all the samples, I noticed that about 20% or 15% of them are moved, so you have to be very patient with the focus of the camera. The colors look good, and this camera is not very far from other low-end handsets we've tested, from the likes of Carbon and other Indian or Asian companies. On the video side, we've selected 2 clips to show you, and here we go. We have one that involves a park seen from the top. This clip has an okay focus and exposure. It's also slightly blurry at the start, but then it becomes clear. The acoustic was surprisingly good, colors also good and realistic. By the way, we're playing with Full HD MP4 files here with a 17 megapixel bitrate and a 30 frame per second frame rate. And then there is the other clip. The clip with the fountain starts off pretty bad with some focus loss. But once again, good audio, pretty good clarity for a low-end phone, crisp image, and actually pretty okay stabilization given the conditions. I'd say that the video and photo capture are okay for the price. Focus loss does happen quite a bit here, and if you're patient with the focusing or taking shots, you'll be happy with the pictures. Keep in mind that you'll get some blurry shots here and there. It comes with the price tag of the phone. Okay, so we're done with the camera. It's time to get to other areas. For example, we got the phone calling features here. I have to say that this device comes with HSDPA, GPS, Bluetooth 4.1 and FM radio. There's no NFC or infrared. There's still DLNA. We got good signal, loud calls, but there's no noise cancelling. If you want to see some web browsing, you have to resort to Chrome. And in Chrome, we're going to go to gsndon.com. By the way, a pretty comfy keyboard here on this 5-inch screen. Pretty fast browser. It's Chrome once again. And you saw before the browser mark result, that was pretty good. Okay, so we're done with the browsing. It's time to talk software just a little bit and then the conclusions. You probably guessed that we're running Android KitKat, Android 4.4.4 with a custom Sony UI on top with colorful and complex widgets and a background that reminds us of a PlayStation console. You can change the wallpaper, obviously you can change themes. And we got those typical unique media apps, Walkman, album and video, as well as a PlayStation application. All of these apps have something in common. You got big squares, you got a big menu on the left side, Walkman has it, album has it, big menu on the left side, and video also has it. However, in video's case, this area is transparent, which is quite good looking. Okay, multitasking is obviously triggered by swiping to the side, but there are also a bunch of floating apps, a feature we've seen in the past on many Xperia phones. If you want to do a bit of extra multitasking, you have these floating apps on the screen. Okay, and then there's something called the social life and news from social life. You can see it right here. It allows you to see a bit of news, a bit of social networking feeds. Basically, it's an alternative to Flipboard and Blink Feed in a nutshell. You can add feeds, blogs, select keywords, and that's about it. I'm not very sure about the social networking thing because the app has been updated and now it's called News from Social Life, which may or may not be separated from social life. We got a flat and colorful UI here. There's still a bit of gloss, although we're in an age where gloss isn't very modern on UIs. You can still change themes if you want to. Pretty much customization here. You got wallpapers, widgets and apps, and those are the themes you can play with. But there are more related to Frozen from Disney and a few other themes. The whole UI is big on transparency, and one last mention here. Pre-installed you can find the Track ID app, a precursor of Shazam, and Track ID TV that finds your TV shows. We got Office Suite here as well and Garmin navigation. In spite of that, we don't have what I would call bloatware here. We only have a few apps to play with and not a huge amount of them, which is pretty much okay. There are a lot of online stuff, online things to show on this device, and each app has its own online section. The video app, the music app, the photo app, all of them offer you the option to see your online things. And I also want to show you the temperature of the device. After playing the game Riptide GP2 for 15 minutes, we achieved 34.6 degrees Celsius, so there's no overheating here. It's time for the verdict here for the pros and cons. So let's start with the pros. The Sony Xperia E4 is an affordable phone, that's for sure, only a bit over 150 bucks. It has an okay camera, you saw the samples before. It has a lot of camera options, plus more downloadable, a very good battery, surprisingly good battery, okay audio, there is no overheating and no bloatware, and it can run 3D games okay. However, on the con side, we got a massive phone, a fingerprint magnet, the cheap plastic at the back, and there's the plastic layer on top of the screen ruining the experience. It's not a bright phone, only a bit over 200 lux, a very long charging, and some of the pictures will be taken will inevitably be blurry. Also, the CPU on board is rather old since this is a phone launched in 2015. Okay, so let's give it some grades. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 7.8 out of 10 for design, an 8.6 out of 10 for hardware, and a 9 out of 10 for OS and UI. The final grade is 8.46 out of 10, and I would recommend this for people going on a vacation, and I would also recommend it if the Xperia E4G didn't exist. It's good for the camera, it's good for the battery, for the acoustics. Basically, if you want to go on a trip, that's what you need: audio, battery, and camera. So if you're ready to spend $150 on it, go ahead, but keep in mind it has a cheap plastic case, not a very good screen, and long charging. From gsmdon.com, 8.46 out of 10. Bye bye.